This is Rimworld, one of all the best colony builder out there. But after the new Norland demo, I had an itch for a medieval game, so I went out and downloaded a few mods to make Rimworld exactly what I'm after. So today I'm surviving 100 days in medieval Rimworld, and all mods in this video, they'll be in the description. But the main ones I'm using today are Medieval Overhaul and a new storyteller called Medieval Maynard, to limit the technology to the medieval period, just to make things fair. And first, the team, or should I call them Battle Brothers? So that's what the scenario is called. First off, we've got Boris. No, not that one. This Boris. He's our builder and part warrior. Then we have Philip, the bowman, and the cook. And he's the one who's probably going to do most of the talking. Then there's Graves, our intellectual, with a little bit of passion for crafting and arts. And on to Emma, the farmer and the doctor. I'm sure anyone who's played Rimworld knows we need her. And finally, Sam, our animal handler, with a splash of mining and shooting to help out. Now it's time to look at our map location. I wanted to go somewhere mountainous. And with this fancy little preview, I can see this really nice rock formation in the middle of the map, so we choose there. And when we get on the map, there seems to be some ruins in the middle of the rock formation, perfect for our starting base. So we patch up the old ruins, put the old bed and storage to use, and straight onto a little research, going for agriculture first. But whilst we wait, better start making some defences, so we make a few palisades, to block off most of the entrances to our little castle. But just before the barricades are built, of course we get attacked. Oh god, where have they all just come from? So we line up for our first defence. I have a little bit of a panic when our little dog starts getting chased instead. It might be chasing the dog, no. No! The dog has killed it, oh my god. This is a nightmare. So somehow we scrape through that one, and just about time to name our settlement. We go for Cutland, after our Norland kingdom that is, and the faction name, Battle Brothers. Hopefully you've all played that one. When Graves finally finishes the research, time to start planting. We try to set up some grow zones that are all in the fertile lands, but my colour blindness is having none of it. So we just set up 4 5x5 squares. That'll do. We put down mushrooms, onions, garlic and grapes. And don't think I said, we had a couple pigs wandering. You have 2 pigs, a male and a female, oh my god. So we make a little barn and a pen, just so they're not running off now. And finally, time for our first raid. Oh, here we go. Luckily, it's only one lone raider, so she didn't really stand a chance. Oh, 1 hit, 2 hit. But we did manage to knock her down, so we got our first prisoner. But she doesn't really have any good stats we want for now. So, our first slave instead, and then onto the struggle of knowing what to research next. We end up researching lumber. I'm sure that'll be useful. We start to plan out fixing up the castle, building in floors and trying to get everyone their own rooms. And finally it's about time to make our trap hallway. And during all this, for some reason our dog decides to pick a fight with a tortoise. This turtle's wrecking our dog. And almost dies. The next couple of days are just more of the same. Building up the base, stockpiling some supplies. We did do a small quest where we saved someone from the Empire being chased by a mad monkey. And there might have been an immersion break with a futuristic shuttle landing outside our castle. We'll ignore that. But things were coming along, the flooring was done, and we started thinking about building out the castle to make some more room. Then a random woman fell from the sky, so we decided it's best to imprison her too. But we thought, probably best to convert her first, and we'll decide what to do with her later. And the first trader graced our settlement. We didn't end up buying anything, but they did arrive at the perfect time, intercepting our raiders for us, and the lovely guests took them out. But there we go, they did.
Nice.
With our new supply of weapons given to us by the raiders, it was time to venture out and deconstruct some of the structures around the map, so we could use some of the materials to build up our castle. But before we do that, our new research was done, and we set our eyes on the rustic storage. I mean, look at this, it looks so good. And another raid. Time to put our defences to the test. And of course they set fire to the walls instead. Bastards. But we had a little run around. And finally, picked him off. And we knocked him down, so another prisoner. By this point, I'm about 12 or 13 days in. We're starting to run out of food, and I don't really understand why Emma's not just sorting out the farms. And then I saw it. At some point, I'd not allowed them to sow the fields. But with that sorted, it's time to tend to the kitchen, putting down a stove and a little cupboard to store the animal carcasses in the butchering block, just for cleanliness. And it's about time to decide what to do with our new prisoner, Habby. He's got some really high skills, so we decide to convert him and try recruit him later. With the settlement growing though, I decided to send out guys to start mining the local deposits around the area. And apart from our constant struggle with food, after my earlier blunder, the only big thing that really happens is we make Boris our moral guide.
Great supine protoplasmic invertebrate jellies.
The next week or so in the settlement was mighty slow. We started building an outer wall to make some more space inside the castle. We started doing a bunch of research around stone stacking and stone crushing, just to find out we didn't really need them either. And to realise our main issue with building was that we were trying to use granite when there was no granite on the map. Oh god, I should really pay more attention. And we started making the place look nice with some of this rustic storage. And finally, we built a stone cutting table to start making some blocks so we can actually start building the walls. And time for another raid. Some action at last. Just for Sam to get caught outside and not even use our defences again. But we had a little melee, and we won, so that's good. And finally I started realising we had no granite to use for the walls, so we settled for slate instead. But back onto the food, started focusing on food preservation, to hopefully stop half our food rotting away. And it's around this time where I started expanding the garden, as the grow zones didn't seem to be producing much. And don't worry, I know it's because the animals are eating it, and we could have put soil underneath to make the grow zones grow more, but the dummy playing at this moment had no idea. And finally, our big boy prisoner Habby converts to our religion. Thank God. Time to start recruiting him. And here we are, we found out about the ploughed soil. Ploughed soil increases fertility. Hopefully we'll start sorting out the food now. And we start preemptively building some houses around the area, as the castle's getting a little bit crowded. And everything seems to be going our way, because this happened. Sorry. We named him Vexing Potato, after one of the Discord boys. Link in the description, by the way. So things are starting to look up for the settlement. We're getting closer to day 30, and it's time to expand the castle a little more. So we make the kitchen a little bit bigger, and double layer one of the outside walls, just for a little bit of protection. We also make a little dining hall, for our guys to eat in style. This might also be around the time when my frustration for the vegetables not growing starts to spiral out of control, so I start putting gardening boxes everywhere. And we finally decide to accept a quest. We've been staying out of trouble until now, but this quest was only to rescue a colonist, so why not an extra hand? So we send out Philip and Graves to go grab her. But of course, as soon as they left, a raid. Oh, that's bad timing. And this time an armoured opponent. And of course, instead of running through the traps, he lights the walls on fire. What an asshole. So I sent out Boris to try fight him. Luckily, the raider ran through the traps instead. Gave us a nice sword and shield, so happy days. Right, Philip and Graves arrive at the quest to save Teach? Probably mispronouncing that, but we patched her up, started coming home. And then Habby decides he's got a little temper tantrum. Decides to fight his cellmate, just to get knocked out instantly. Damn, that's embarrassing for a level 17 melee. And our first bulk trader arrives. Finally some chance to make some money. And a wild Greg appears. A child being chased by 6 man-hunting squirrels. Man, Rimworld is something else. But it only gets better. Greg arrives and starts making a run for the castle. Only to get caught and get his leg ripped off. Poor little bastard. But we patched the kid up, and he's as good as new. Well, apart from his leg. Now it's time to try and make some more houses. With our population slowly growing, we're starting to run out of space. And it's around now that I start realising the animals are eating all our crops, so I fenced off the growing zones and make their own little area for hay. And I decide to expand the barn a little bit. We've had a few more animals join, it's starting to look a little bit cramped in there. And once again, Habby has a little tantrum, but this time gets put down by Graves instead. So we are actually doing pretty well, except from the low food and the low medicine, but we'll sort that out later. But with our resources starting to stock up, I wanted to change the outer walls, so it's upgrade time. But after seeing how long it takes them to build one block, this might take a while. And finally, Habby succumbs to our charms, decides to join us. Then it's raid time. The people of Corsair want to have a go. Time to get Habby kitted out and see how he does. Getting most of the raiders with the bows, and the rest with the traps. Well, he's dead. And hunting down the strays. Ah, they killed him. Oh well. Then a caravan of weaponsmiths from the House of Soren. Time to pick up some new weapons. Namely, an arbalist for Philip, and a nice enchanted mace for Habby. With half our population in tattered clothing, I thought it might be the best to start some research on tailoring, just to try and fix one of the problems we have. This doesn't take long, and now just to find out how to actually make leather, and remember we need to plant some cotton too. But don't worry, I'm sure we'll notice that straight away. Right? but with the noticeable lack of space, I decided it's time to expand the castle a little more, making a little workshop for all our crafting and smithing to come. And damn, with the amount of colonists we have, we're flying through the mining. And our new gate's finally done, time to tear down the old one. With the new workshop space coming along, it's time to start our smithing research too. And with the workshop finishing off, it's time to reorganise the base a little bit, making a separate room for research. And with the smithing research done, it's time to set our eyes on a new prize, the crossbow. But more importantly, the potential of making a Scorpio. But of course, I didn't read this either. Need a schematic to research. Whoops. Well, I guess I'll notice that later, after nothing gets researched for a while. And now on to our constant animal struggles. I never seem to have enough food for them, so I try to gather as much hay from around the map as I can, but end up just having to let them back in the gardens to eat all our crops. My food management on this playthrough is awful, I'm so sorry. And it's about time to start kitting out the workshop with a proper smithing area. Damn, this looks so cool. And again, something else I seem to not notice. That Habby, our big burly warrior, had a go juice dependency. And if you don't know what that is, pretty much, if he doesn't have go juice in the 30 days, he goes into a coma, like this. And if he doesn't have it for 60, he dies. But thanks for watching, guys. Sorry, gonna have to split this into 2 parts. It's been taking me an age to edit this one. But if you guys enjoyed, leave a like down below, and comment if you want to see more. Also guys, just partnered with Fanatical, so if you're interested in playing Rimworld, they've got a sale on right now. There's a link in the description.